The balloons are still going up when Ren sees her. A woman in a green coat, standing at the edge of the bounce house, watching 6-year-olds throw themselves into a pile of foam like it's the only thing that matters in the world. Ren doesn't know this woman, has never met this woman, has definitely never invited this woman to her son's birthday party in a rented backyard in October. But her husband Grant knows exactly who she is. Ren can tell by the way his whole body changes the second he spots the green coat. Like someone reached into him and turned a dial. "Who is that?" Ren says. Not a question. A door opening. Grant doesn't answer right away. He's already moving toward the cooler, already reaching for a drink he doesn't need, already doing the thing he does when he wants 3 extra seconds to build a sentence that sounds true. "Client's wife," he says. "From the Reyes account. I told you about the Reyes account." He didn't. Ren would remember telling her about a client's wife who shows up, unannounced, to a 6-year-old's birthday party on a Saturday. That's not a detail people forget to mention. That's a detail people bury. So Ren watches instead of asking again. She's learned that watching gets her further than asking. Asking gives Grant time to write a better lie. Watching just gives her the truth, one small gesture at a time. The woman in the green coat? Odette, she'll find out later, though right now she's just the coat, doesn't look lost. She doesn't scan the yard for a friend, or search for the parents she supposedly knows through some account Ren has never once heard the name of in 4 years of marriage. She walks like she has walked this yard before, like she knows which gate sticks, like she knows not to step on the flower bed by the fence because she's stepped around it 100 times. Ren has lived in this house for 6 years. She has never seen this woman in her life. There's a moment, small, almost nothing, where Odette's eyes find Grant across the yard. And something passes between them that isn't a look you give a client's wife. It's a look you give someone you've already had a private conversation with today. Maybe more than one. Ren has been in rooms with affairs before. Not her own, other people's. She's the friend everyone calls when they need someone to say the thing out loud. She's good at it. She's calm about it. She tells people, gently, the thing they already know but haven't let themselves hear yet. She has never once had to say it about her own house. She's not here for the Reyes account, Ren says, and it isn't a question this time either. Grant's face does the thing faces do when a lie runs out of road. Not panic exactly, recalculation. He's a man who has always been good at landing on his feet, and Ren watches him search for the next foothold in real time. "Ren, don't do this here. It's Sam's birthday." And that's the part that finally cracks something open in her chest. Because he's right. It is Sam's birthday. Their son is 11 feet away, cheeks covered in blue frosting, laughing at something one of his friends said, completely unaware that the shape of his entire family just shifted while he wasn't looking. Ren has spent 6 years being the person other people call when they need clarity. She has never once needed someone to hand it to her. She doesn't need it now either. She has it. She's just never had to hold something this heavy before. Across the yard, Odette in the green coat lifts a hand. Small, easy, the wave of someone who has nothing to hide. Because as far as she knows, she doesn't. She thinks this is a normal Saturday. She thinks she was invited, which means somebody told her she was welcome here. And Ren already knows who that somebody was. Grant follows her eyes back to Odette, and for 1 second, before he can rebuild the mask, Ren sees it. Not guilt exactly, relief. The specific relief of a man who has spent months keeping 2 lives 12 feet apart and just watched them collide in front of everyone he loves. And some small, ugly part of him is glad it's finally over. Wren doesn't say anything else. Not yet. She walks toward the cake table instead, past the balloons, past the bounce house, past 6 years of a marriage she thought she understood, and picks up a knife they bought specifically for cutting a dinosaur cake shaped like a stegosaurus. She has questions. A lot of them, but not one of them is going to get asked today, in front of 11 6-year-olds and a woman in a green coat who doesn't yet know she's about to become a very important character in a story she has no idea she's in. Somewhere behind her, Grant is already rehearsing an explanation. Wren already knows it's going to be a good one. She's heard him lie before. She just never used to notice. The party ends the way parties end. Cake gone, kids collected, the last balloon drifting sideways into the fence until someone's dad grabs it on the way out. Wren shakes hands, says thank you for coming, says happy birthday one more time to her son, and does not once look at Grant like a woman who just watched her marriage rearrange itself in front of her. She is very good at this. She has always been good at this. If you've ever known the moment before you knew, the one where your body already understood and your mouth just hadn't caught up yet, subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of story we slow down until it makes sense. Wren didn't get that luxury today. We're going to give it to her, one piece at a time. Grant and Wren have been married 6 years, together 8. He proposed on a Tuesday, which she used to think was romantic. No performance, no crowd, just the two of them in a kitchen that needed painting. Him getting down on one knee on a floor they hadn't finished yet. She'd told that story 100 times. It always got a laugh. He didn't even wait for the floor to be done. She used to think that meant he couldn't wait for her. Now she wonders if it just meant he didn't plan things out very far. Grant works in commercial insurance, the kind of job that comes with client dinners and account reviews and conferences in cities Wren has never been invited to see. She never thought to question it. Why would she? People go to conferences. People have client dinners. People occasionally mention a name once, in passing, months before that name shows up in a green coat at their son's birthday party. Odette Reyes. That part, at least, wasn't a lie. There is a Reyes account. Wren checks. There's an actual company, an actual contract, an actual husband named Marcus Reyes, who Grant genuinely does business with. What there isn't, anywhere in 6 years of shared calendars and joint email and a Christmas card list Wren maintains herself, is a single mention of Marcus Reyes's wife having ever been inside their house. Until today, when she walked their yard like she already knew where the flower bed was. Wren doesn't confront him that night. She tells herself it's because Sam is still awake, still riding the high of turning 6, still asking if he can wear his dinosaur cake shirt to school tomorrow, even though it has frosting on the sleeve. That's true. It's also not the whole reason. The whole reason is that Wren has learned, across a decade of being the friend other people call when their lives are falling apart, that timing is a kind of power. You don't ask the real question the moment you have it. You ask it when you already know the answer, so the lie has nowhere left to go. So she waits. She washes the frosting off 11 paper plates. She puts the extra balloons in the garage instead of popping them, because Sam likes finding them later, deflated, tucked behind the bikes. And she starts paying attention in a way she has never once had to before. It's small things at first. Grant's phone face down on the counter, which used to just be a habit and now reads like a decision. A dinner invitation from the Reyes family that somehow never once includes Wren by name, only Grant, only and guest, as though whoever is writing these emails already knows the guest won't be coming. A receipt from a flower shop 2 towns over, folded into a jacket pocket, dated the same week as a conference Grant told her he attended alone. None of it, on its own, is proof of anything. Wren knows that. She has told other women exactly that phrase. None of this on its own is proof of anything. Right before helping them lay every piece side by side until it stopped being a collection of nothing and started being a shape. She is doing that now, to her own life, for the first time. 3 nights after the party, Grant finally brings it up himself, unprompted, the way people do when the silence has gotten heavier than the confession would be. Odette wasn't supposed to come, he says. That was on her, not me. Ren looks at him for a long moment before she answers, because she already knows something he doesn't yet. She's not asking about the party anymore. She stopped caring about the party 2 days ago. I didn't ask about the party, she says. I asked how she knew where the flower bed was. Grant doesn't answer that one at all. Grant doesn't answer. And Ren doesn't fill the silence for him. She's learned that, too. The silence does more work than the question ever could. He leaves the room instead. Says he needs air. Says it like a man who has never once needed air in his life. And Ren sits at the kitchen table with her hands flat against the wood and lets herself feel, for the first time since the party, exactly how much this actually hurts. She's been so busy watching, cataloging, laying pieces side by side, that she hasn't let herself land on the fact that this is her marriage. Not a case study. Not a friend's story she gets to sit outside of, offering perspective from a safe distance. Hers. But grief and clarity aren't the same feeling, and Ren has always been better at the second one. So the next morning, she does the things she's done for a dozen friends over the years, and never once done for herself. She starts building a timeline. The Reyes account started 14 months ago. Grant mentioned it maybe twice in the first 6 months. Normal amounts, normal detail, the way you mention any client. Then something shifted. Around month 7, the trips got longer. Around month 9, he stopped bringing his laptop bag home at all. Said the office had started letting him leave it in a locker, which Ren remembers thinking was odd at the time and let go of anyway, because who questions a locker? Around month 11, the flower shop receipt. Around month 13, a hotel loyalty email addressed to Grant landed in the shared account they use for points. A room booked for 2 nights. Same city as the Reyes headquarters. Same week Grant told her he was staying with his brother. Ren calls his brother. Doesn't accuse, doesn't explain. Just asks, casually, whether Grant crashed at his place last month like he'd mentioned. His brother says, "What? No. I haven't seen Grant since 4th of July." Something in Ren's chest doesn't drop. It settles. Like a decision that's already been made somewhere underneath her, and her body is just catching up to what her mind decided days ago. If you're the kind of person who's ever built your own timeline, who's ever laid the receipts out on a table at 2 in the morning because something in you needed to see the whole shape at once, tell us in the comments what the first small detail was that made you start looking. There's always one. What was yours? That evening, Grant comes home in a mood Ren doesn't recognize. Lighter, almost relieved. He talks about Sam's school project, asks what's for dinner, moves through the kitchen like a man whose secret has stopped weighing on him. Which makes sense, Ren realizes, only if he's decided the secret is almost over. Either he's about to end it, or he's about to choose it. She watches him for the whole meal, matching his ease with her own, mirroring it back so perfectly that he has no idea the woman across the table has already called his brother, already pulled a hotel confirmation email, already understands exactly how long this has been going and roughly how far it's gone. This is the part nobody tells you about discovering the truth. It isn't the dramatic scene you picture. It isn't a phone thrown across a room. It's sitting at your own dinner table, passing the salt to a man who is lying to your face with his whole body relaxed, and choosing, deliberately, coldly, not to give him the moment where he gets to see it land. Because the moment he sees it land, he gets to react. He gets to explain, or apologize, or cry, or do whatever version of damage control he's already rehearsed in the shower. Wren isn't ready to hand in that yet. What she's ready for is Odette. Because there's one detail that's been sitting underneath everything else since the party, quieter than the affair itself, and it's the detail Wren can't stop turning over. Odette walked that yard like she'd been there before. Not once. Not sneaking around a corner she'd only heard described. Like she'd stood at that fence enough times to know exactly where not to step. Which means this was never just a hotel room in another city. It was in Wren's own backyard. And Wren wants to know how many times. Wren finds the answer 4 days later, and it comes from the last place she expects. Sam. He's building a Lego set at the kitchen table. The kind of aimless chatter kids do when their hands are busy and their mouths just keep going. And he says, completely offhand, "Is Odette coming again soon? She said she liked my swing." Wren keeps her voice very even. "When did Odette see your swing, buddy?" "That day Daddy picked me up early from school. We went to get ice cream and then home, and she was already here." Wren doesn't ask another question. She's learned, across 100 conversations that weren't hers, that kids will hand you the whole truth if you don't spook them with how much it matters. So she just nods, says, "That's nice," asks if the swing needs oiling, and goes back to pretending her whole body isn't rearranging itself around one sentence. She was already here. Not at a hotel in another city. Not at some conference 3 states away. Here, in this house. While Wren was at work, believing her husband was at his, Odette Reyes was standing in Wren's kitchen, admiring a swing set Wren picked out herself, playing at a life that already belongs to somebody else. Wren pulls up the school pickup log that evening. Parents get an email every time a child is checked out early, a policy she's always found mildly excessive and is suddenly deeply grateful for. 3 early pickups in the last 2 months. All 3 logged under Grant's name. She cross-references them against the calendar quietly, the way she used to help friends cross-reference their own worst suspicions. Except this time, her hands are shaking, and she has to stop twice to breathe. All 3 dates line up with days Wren worked a late shift. This is the moment Wren finally understands the shape of what's been built around her. It isn't an affair happening in the cracks of a busy life. It's a second household, assembled in the exact hours Wren isn't home, in the exact rooms Wren sleeps in, around the exact child Wren raised. Odette hasn't just been sleeping with her husband. She's been auditioning to replace her. And the worst part? The part Wren keeps circling back to at 2 in the morning is how careful it's been. Nothing left out of place. No lipstick on a collar. No strange perfume. No obvious tell. Because Grant didn't need to hide a hotel room from a woman who trusted him completely. He needed to hide an entire second life from a woman who would have caught a hotel room in a week. So instead, he built something slower, something patient, something that could survive a normal Tuesday. Wren has watched this exact pattern in other marriages and always assumed the wife eventually sensed it, some instinct, some shift in the air. She used to believe that. She doesn't anymore. She's lived inside a pattern this careful for over a year and felt almost nothing until a woman in a green coat forgot to act like a stranger. That night, she finally confronts him, not with a question this time, because she's done asking questions he gets to shape the answer to. She lays it out flat. The hotel email, the brother who hasn't seen him since July, the pickup log, Sam's swing. Grant's face goes through every stage of a man who thought he had more time. Denial first, quick and reflexive, then a long pause when he realizes the pickup log alone makes denial pointless. And finally, something almost like relief again. That same unsettling ease from dinner, except now Wren understands exactly what it means. "I was going to tell you," he says. "Eventually." "Tell me what, exactly?" Wren says. "That you were leaving? Or that you'd already left and just hadn't said it out loud yet?" Grant doesn't answer that either. But this time, Wren doesn't need him to. She's already seen the whole shape of it laid out in front of her, and for the first time since the party, she isn't the one catching up to the truth. She's the only one in the room who already knows what happens next. Grant thought silence would buy him room to plan his next move. Instead, it buys Wren 3 more days of watching him get careless. The specific kind of careless a man gets when he believes the worst has already happened and there's nothing left to lose by relaxing. He starts taking calls in the hallway instead of stepping outside, leaves his laptop open on the counter one morning while he showers. And there, in an open tab he didn't bother closing, is a message thread with Odette that answers the one question Wren hasn't been able to shake since Sam mentioned the swing. It isn't recent. The earliest message is dated almost 2 years ago, 6 months before Wren and Grant even started planning their wedding. Wren sits with that for a long moment, before she lets herself fully understand it. This wasn't a marriage that slowly drifted into betrayal. Odette was there before the ring, before the kitchen floor that wasn't finished, before the vows Wren stood up and said out loud in front of both their families, meaning every single word of them. Grant didn't fall into this. He walked into his own wedding already holding a second life in his other hand, and he's spent every year since deciding, over and over, not to put it down. The messages read like a relationship with its own history, its own inside jokes, its own careful language for talking around Wren without naming her. She is home. She is the situation. She is, on one particularly ugly Tuesday 8 months ago, the reason I can't yet. Not a wife. An obstacle with a countdown attached. Odette, for her part, doesn't come across as some accidental stranger who wandered in and fell for a married man. She reads like someone running her own long campaign. She asks more than once when Grant is actually going to do it. She sends the address of a rental listing 4 months ago, subject line, "For later, no rush." She asks about Sam by name, wants to know his favorite things, wants to know exactly what kind of stepmother role she'd be walking into. She has been auditioning to raise Wren's son since before he lost his first tooth. This is the part where Wren finally understands why the party felt the way it did. Odette didn't stumble into that yard unprepared. She walked into it like a woman previewing a life she'd already been promised, checking the flower bed, watching the swing, standing at the edge of a party she believed, on some level, was rehearsal for her own future. Wren isn't angry at Odette the way she thought she would be, once she finally read the truth in full. Odette is a woman who wanted something and went and got it. Badly, dishonestly, but plainly. Wren has met 100 versions of Odette in other people's stories. She knows exactly what that shape looks like. Grant is the shape she's never once had to look at this closely before. The one who stood in front of a room full of people who loved him and made a promise he had already privately decided not to keep. She doesn't wait for him to get out of the shower. She takes a photo of the thread, screenshot by screenshot, methodically, the same way she'd tell any friend to document anything that mattered before it disappeared. Then she closes the laptop, exactly as she found it, and goes to pick Sam up from school herself. Because there's one more thing in that thread she can't let go of. A message from 3 weeks ago, the week before the party, where Grant tells Odette he's almost ready to say something. Wren wants to be the one who says it first. Wren picks Sam up early. No explanation needed. The front office barely blinks at a mother deciding to surprise her kid with an early pickup. He climbs into the car chattering about recess, and Wren drives them both somewhere that isn't home yet. A diner. Pancakes at 2 in the afternoon, syrup on his chin. No idea that his mother has spent the last hour rearranging the entire architecture of his life in her head. She isn't protecting him from the truth forever. She's protecting this 1 hour first. By the time they get home, Grant is out of the shower and visibly rattled that the laptop was left open, though he doesn't say that part out loud. He asks where they went. Wren tells him the truth, pancakes, and watches him try to read her face for how much she knows, the way you'd watch someone check a door to see if it's locked. She doesn't make him wait long. That evening, once Sam is asleep, she puts her phone on the table between them, screenshots already open, 2 years of messages laid out in the exact order Grant wrote them. "You said you were almost ready to say something," Wren says. "So say it." Grant doesn't have a version of this conversation rehearsed for a scenario where she already has everything. Every excuse he starts dies halfway out of his mouth, because there's no explaining a rental listing his mistress sent for later, no rush, or a message calling his own wife the situation, or 2 years of history that started before he ever proposed on an unfinished kitchen floor. "I didn't want to hurt you," he finally says, which is the closest thing to true he's managed all night, and also the most useless sentence Wren has ever heard, because the hurting isn't a future event he's trying to avoid. It already happened. It happened in installments, for 2 years, every time he chose Odette and came home and let Wren believe she was the only life he was building. Wren doesn't cry in front of him. She's spent years telling other women that the tears can come later, in private, on their own terms, and not as a performance for the person who caused them. So she waits. She tells him he needs to be gone by the weekend. She tells him Sam will be told something true but gentle, in her own words, on her own timeline, not his. And she tells him, calmly, that she already has copies of everything, should he ever try to rewrite what happened here. The weeks that follow aren't easy. Nothing about rebuilding a life around a hole that size is easy. But Wren notices something she didn't expect: how much steadier she feels the moment the pretending stops. She's spent a year unconsciously managing a version of her marriage that wasn't real, and just putting it down, even in grief, feels like setting something heavy on the floor after carrying it without realizing how much it weighed. Sam asks about Odette exactly once, a few weeks later. Wren tells him gently that Odette isn't going to be around anymore, and Sam shrugs the way 6-year-olds shrug at things that don't fully land yet, and asks if he can have the swing repainted blue. Wren says yes. Obviously yes. If you've made it this far, you already know the moment that changes a story isn't always the biggest one. Sometimes it's a woman in a green coat who knows exactly where the flower bed is. Sometimes it's a kid mentioning a swing. The truth doesn't usually arrive all at once. It arrives in the small details nobody thought to hide well enough. And once you see one of them clearly, the rest come fast. That's what we're here for. Slowing down the moment until it makes sense, one detail at a time. If this story did that for you, there's another one waiting next. A woman who spent 9 years keeping quiet score on her sister-in-law and finally brought the receipts to the table. I'm Hani. People always show you who they are. Wet Teddy just slows it down. I'll see you in the next one.